Usually with sports dramas, we get athletes that got the acting bug, or we get actors that either can ball or condition their body to convince us that they're really balling on screen. In this one, though, it's not about the sport so much as it's about the financial success of the athlete. And we get performances from Oscar and Emmy winners that on paper seems like a boring business deal, but what they bring to the table is such an entertaining insider's view of what it was like to ink the most lucrative endorsement deal of all time. Here's my review of Air. Air is a nostalgic period piece of a sports drama about a nearly bankrupt Nike courting a third round draft pick rookie whose mother makes sure her son gets a piece of the pie. The talent involved elevate what would ordinarily seem like an arbitrary business deal to an underdog story that will have you in tears. So, what's good about Air? The script. Rather than focus on the drama surrounding an athlete's or team's rise, setbacks, and victories that we usually get in sports dramas, this movie highlights the unglamorous negotiations that led a rookie athlete down the path to financial success. For most of them, financial freedom after their athletic careers is rare. Here, Michael Jordan's mother, Dolores, curated his future not just as an NBA prospect, but as a businessman. She guided him into becoming the wealthiest athlete in history, which positioned him to purchase an NBA team. He remains the second and only black man ever to own an NBA team in the league's history, due in part to the deal structure this film chronicles. That's what Alex Convery's screenplay explores, this insider's view of this historic, unprecedented endorsement deal. Also great, the performances. They are superior because of the talent involved. These are Oscar and Emmy winners, and you will be impressed. Chris Messina steals about 5 minutes of this film before Viola swoops in and steals the rest. Her performance as Dolores Jordan further proves why she is one of the greatest actresses of all time. This role to anyone else is micro, but she takes about 20 minutes of screen time in a supporting role and delivers the most pivotal dialogue that will linger in your mind long after you've left the theater. Matt Damon as Nike marketing exec Sonny Vaccaro makes you root for him just as much as the young rookie from North Carolina whose face you never see on screen. Now, Ben Affleck does double duty here. He directs this film and he stars as Nike CEO and co founder Phil Knight. His performance was mostly flat for me because he was, in essence, playing a blood sucking capitalist who wanted to pay Michael Jordan a meager $250,000 a year for 5 years. He did have a hilarious line or two, but I think his biggest contribution in this film, other than directing, was that he styled his hair as an ode not only to the Greek goddess Nike, but also Caesar Augustus. Now, the wardrobe. Costume designer Charlize Jones captured 80s style culture precisely. From the Stacey Adams Matt wore to the knee-length polyester pencil skirt worn by Viola, the wardrobe department encapsulated 1984 to a T. The music. They licensed your favorite 80s songs and placed them ever so strategically so that we remained engaged throughout this nearly 2-hour film. So let's transition to the issues, the pacing. Now, there are some low moments because at the end of the day, this is about a business deal. And there are stakes. We're waiting with bated breath. We know that Michael Jordan accepts this deal, but on what terms? So at some points, there are low moments. And again, the music does liven up those low moments. Again, it's about orchestrating a business deal. And as I mentioned, the songs are placed very strategically so that the scenes are livened. The humor. There are some extremely hilarious moments in this film. And then there are some moments that are not so funny. I think the jokes fell flat. But for the most part, you will laugh out loud in the theater at this film. The directing. And I say this with love. I think Ben Affleck is a great filmmaker, and I love that he has this unique perspective when it comes to biopics, what he did with Argo, and now what he's done with Air. I think it's great. Now, there were some points where the transitions, because transitional dissolving were popular in the 80s, it's a technique that's used here. I get why he used it, but it kind of dulls the moments. Then there are these bullet points. So there are these message points that are used that I don't think move the story. I think they were unnecessary. We didn't need those. And lastly, his camera would land on these objects to remind us that we were watching a 1984 period piece. So we'd see like the Wheaties box, and we'd see Matt Damon's, like his camera would like just focus in on Matt Damon's Stacey Adams. Like seems so like unnecessary. Just to remind us that we were watching a film from the 80s. So I thought that was a little unnecessary. Overall, mhm. Overall, Air is worth seeing in the theater. I think you're going to have a great time watching this. Again, Viola Davis is stellar in this film. You will be crying like the Michael Jordan meme in that last 10-20 minutes at the end of this film. We know the outcome. We know that Michael Jordan signs this deal, but the love of his mother, Dolores, and the way she demands and assures that his financial future is set when he could have signed a $250,000 deal a year for 5 years. But no, his mother was relentless in making sure that he signed not just the best deal, but the most lucrative for him and his future, for his financial success, that positioned him as the wealthiest basketball player of all time. Air will be in theaters exclusively on April the 5th.